Welcome to the Creators MBA podcast, your go-to resource for mastering the art and science of digital product entrepreneurship. My name is Dr. Destiny Kopp, and I help business owners generate consistent revenue from their digital product business without the need to be glued to their desk, constantly live launching, or worrying about the social media algorithms. I hope you enjoy our episode today. Hi there, Destiny here, and I am super excited to dive into our session today. And I have something a little bit different for you. I have a group of female founders, and we are going to be discussing what we learned last week at the New Media Summit in Austin, Texas. Now, for those of you who have been in my world a while, you know that I love newsletters. I did a research study on newsletters, but also what is important is a lot of the things that was covered in the New Media Summit are the frameworks that we teach in the Newsletter Profit Club. So when you hear them talk about a session where a newsletter who have been doing this for many, many years now, how he talks about his framework for his newsletter, that's what we cover in the Newsletter Profit Club with the mini magazine method. You're also going to hear Kate talk about, okay, now I walked away from this thinking about my newsletter as a product in my business and thinking about other ways that I can monetize it. That is all the things that we talk about in the Newsletter Profit Club. So we're going to jump into this conversation, but I also want you to know that I will put a link to give you more information about the Newsletter Profit Club in the podcast show notes. So if you want to check it out, now's a good time to do this. Let's get started. All right. So first of all, thank you so much for joining me. What I wanted to do here today was get a group of founders together who were at the New Media Summit. I am super excited to have this conversation. I know that everybody's going to bring a lot to the table here, and I want to set the stage for you. Kate All, who was at the summit with us, but not here today, one of the things that she said, I actually saw a LinkedIn post that she did, and also in her newsletter that she sent out this week, she says, I'll add this after attending the conference. She says, I could have gotten all of this information through Claude or ChatGPT, and every topic could have been put in the bot. But what I got at the conference was people's unique take, the conversations in the room, and the tasks that people had tried. And all of that now informs my future strategy. And I think that really does set the stage for our conversation here today. So what I want to do first was just give you guys a chance to very quickly introduce yourself, who you are, what your business is, and what one word for the summit that you've had after leaving there. And then we'll get into all the conversations and the questions. Natalie, you are at the top of my screen. Do you want to jump in and start here?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for pulling us together, Destiny. This is just a rock star group, and I had so much I had a great time being with you guys and sharing that space with y'all at the New Media Summit. But I'm Natalie Gingrich. I am the CEO and the founder of the Ops Authority. We run an education company where we certify and train strategists, consultants, and directors of operations.
Thank you.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes.
My word for the summit was clarity, and I think we'll probably be able to expand on that a little bit later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Kelly?
Thank you. I'm Kelly Snyder. I am the founder and author of Adore Your Wardrobe, which is an online fashion education company. We teach women how to dress their unique body types, and we use it through formulas based in math and science. My word is going to be optimistic.
Oh, I love that. Monica?
My name's Monica Fromes. I have two brands. The first is Empowered Business, where I help content creators turn their content into high converting digital products. And then the second business is Redefining Mom, which started as a working mom blog and now have evolved into being a resource place for moms to go, particularly around AI now is like the hot topic. And I would say that my word for the event was friendships, because I have had a really rough time showing up like visibility in the last 3 years. And it was really easy to do with all of the lovely ladies in this room right now. And I really appreciated that.
Great. Kate?
Yeah, the conference was so great. I don't know about you, but I feel like I always come home from these things and I'm like, I'm going to do this every week. This is the best. I want to do it all the time. So I'm definitely in that mode right now. But I'm Kate Kordsmeyer. I'm the founder of Success with Soul. We teach online business owners how to grow their business without social media. And so my one word, I have so many that are coming up, but I think my one word is owned, that I really got a sense of owned assets and owned media versus social media and things where we're renting attention. That was a big for me.
Jody?
Hey, I'm Jody Bourne, and I am a vacation rental consultant. So I help people who have Airbnbs, vacation rentals, boutique hotels, all the things, elevate their brand and make competition irrelevant through marketing strategy, brand strategy. And I loved this conference so much because I never go anywhere. And so it's great to just put on clothes for a change, but also everything that we learned. I think for me, the word that really popped out when I read that question was validating. I felt like the conference was validating in a lot of the things I already knew, but probably just needed to be told again. So that's my word.
Thank you. I'll just wrap it up here. So my name is Dr. Destiny Kopp, and I have 2 brands, just like Monica does. I have a B2C brand called Hobby School, where we do online learning virtual summits every single month throughout the year in all types of hobbies. And in my personal brand, I help digital product entrepreneurs grow their business. And I think that my word and that I walked away from the summit was energized. So I attended last year. This has been a niche. This newsletter niche has been one that I've been exploring and doing like research studies and deep dives on over the years. And it was just really energizing to go and understand a lot of the stuff that we've been teaching in our newsletter Profit Club is still valid. The frameworks are still here. They're still valid. So excited to dive into this conversation here today. So what I want to do is start and really get everybody's impression. What was the energy like in the event and what really surprised you about it? Was there any like topic that popped up and you're like, okay, that is new to me. I haven't heard that before.
I'll get us going. This is Natalie again, but the energy, I guess energetically, when you walk into a new space, you don't really know. So I know I'm an extrovert, but sometimes I can walk into a conference and turn my introversion up really big and stick to my circle. Luckily, I found you ladies who I had several of you guys I had relationships with. And through those relationships, I was able to add to our circle. And that was amazing. But that from an energy perspective, I kind of came into this conference, like many of you guys, with just maybe I'll walk away with a little something. So I didn't have this like crazy expectation that I was going to be the smartest person in the room or leaving the conference. That was never going to be, I didn't come in with that. So I really came in very open and like almost low expectations. If I can walk away with some little nugget, that would be enough. And then I knew time with my mastermind or the you all ladies, that was going to be fantastic. So energetically, the space felt great. I think 2 things that surprised me. The first thing in a more positive note was AI clones have scared the daylights out of me. I was like, and it was the very first session, y'all. So I was like, man, this is not going to go our way. Like I'm going to be relying on happy hour and time with my friends, like this content. So I was already like in this kind of questioning space. I won't say I was negative at that moment, but I was like, and I probably took the most notes from that session than any other session. But honestly, the AI clones is what I'd rather focus on from what surprised me about the event, the content that I actually walked away thinking, you know what? Maybe there's a piece of this AI clone. And I can't see myself in the next 12 months, like completely endorsing that. But hey, I was really interested and I expected to shut that down. So that was cool.
I'll piggyback on the AI clone thing too, because I actually think that ended up being my favorite session. And it was the first session of the event. And I'm not anti-AI, obviously, because that's all I talk about nowadays. But I've been like nervous about the bot thing. If you had asked me 6 months ago, I would have told you, oh, I have absolutely no plans to ever publish a podcast episode that my AI clone did. But what I got from that session, like I'm still not there with necessarily wanting to see myself on video when it's not me. I'm not there yet. But he talked about 11 labs, which is the voice cloning. And the more I thought about it for my podcast, the more I thought, if I'm the one I'm dictating the content still. So I ended up coming up with 10 different ideas of things that I basically already have scripted. I just don't have time to sit down and record it. And so I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to feed, and it's all from the session that it convinced me that I'm okay with that, because as long as for me, the authenticity is it's still the information coming from my brain, but I just don't have as much time anymore to sit and record that I used to. And that's why I haven't been publishing my podcast consistently. And I really want to publish consistently. So I feel like this is going to help me bridge that gap.
That's the exact same takeaway I got from that is I don't think I could ever do video. For one thing, he said you can't use your hands, and that is not possible for me. There's just no way I will not be able to use my hands. But the podcast, I've used a script for a long time, and you can I've inserted and changed lines using my voice from the script for maybe just an edit. And I thought, you know what? I have much content that could be turned into a podcast if I had the time to record. And so that was the exact same takeaway. In fact, I came home. That was the first thing I did. I immediately took some content that I have, some blogs and other things, and started developing podcast scripts that I can put into an AI tool.
I think what's really interesting about this too is that in the past, without AI, there's only been two choices: either burn yourself out and do it, or don't do it at all. And this, I feel like when we can find a way that says, now I'm able to do something that I didn't have the capacity to do before, that feels different to me than just, I don't know. It doesn't feel like the cheating or the tricking people or something, when it's just, no, what if we're transparent about it and we say, this podcast is brought to you by my AI clone, and I gave her the script and it is me and my ideas and everything, but I didn't have time to record it myself. So here you can listen to my AI voice tell you this. That feels really different to me. I'm still not sure where I'm going to fall with it, but I like the idea of testing out a couple things. And Monica and Destiny know from our mastermind that I've been playing around with Notebook LM's tools. And now this isn't my AI voice, but it is an AI voice, and it's creating podcasts. And I've been testing it with some of my offers, asking my clients, hey, I'm just giving you the written version of this. Would it help you to have a audio version if you're not as much of a reader, or you are more of a learner that learns through hearing? A hearing learner? That seems weird. That doesn't seem like the right phrasing for it. Visual learner? What's the
Audible.
Yeah, audio learner.
Auditory.
Yeah, thank you. Auditory. Anyway, yes. So I think there's something cool about that. And my clients so far have been like, this is great. It's transparent. You're not trying to trick us. And we're able to get something that we weren't able to before that helps us. And so, yeah, that felt really interesting to me too.
I wanted to say something about the biggest surprise, I guess, for me was the number of big publishers that were speaking. I mean, they had millions of followers. The one guy I think he had the health newsletter that had been doing it since 1999 or something was when he started his community. And that, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect somebody like the guy with the political news show that's on YouTube that I watch often. I did not expect them to be there. And I loved learning from a completely diverse group that I've never heard from before. I really enjoyed that.
That's what I kept saying to Destiny afterwards too, was it felt really good to get out of my really small coachy bubble where I'm with all of these course creators and coaches all the time. And we're just a little more singular in how we think about things. And it was just really interesting to be out and hear from these people who are doing a lot of the same things we are, but through this different lens. And that was one of my big takeaways was, I would say, number one was thinking about your newsletter as a product not just as a marketing tool. And that was like a big shift for me, especially coming from a journalist and blogging background. I was like, oh, like I already actually know how to do this. And I've done this in other businesses. Why am I not doing this as an additional revenue stream in my current business? So that was, I agree, and just getting out of the bubble and hearing from lots of different people. And the second thing was kind of some validating of some theories that I had. But I think what I really took away was that we look at these other business owners or newsletters or companies that have millions of subscribers or make millions of dollars. And we feel like, what are they doing that? Why don't I have that? I work so hard. And I feel like the answer was they're spending millions of dollars on ads. And every single person that spoke talked about their $100,000 to $1 million ad budgets. And that just was like, oh, we again, in this coach world, we're all just like solopreneurs and we don't have VC backed funding. And yeah, so it was validating both. And if I really want to grow to that place, I really need to invest in ads. And if I don't, there's nothing wrong with me or my business. I just don't have the budget to do that. And that's okay too. I think for me, the vibe, not the vibe, but I think when you were talking about what was the energy like, and I had this conversation with both Nat and Kate offline, is that we're at this intersection right now where there is this line being drawn between, I'll call it IP. So you like your property, right? And your voice and your being able to do things specifically the way that you've written them, or maybe courses that you've created, or the amount of time and effort that it took to build whatever business you have. And then there's this other piece, which is like AI and how AI feels scary at times, because we now know that there, as many of you guys heard from the stage, there really isn't intellectual property anymore. And so you could even tell in the presentations that like people were still, I'll call it a teeter-totter, that you had some presenting and they were just like, they're never going to let the robots do everything. And then the other ones are like, the robots can do everything. And so I thought it was just so great to have that. Like there was a lot of discussions to be had with that. And I think also it helped me understand, and I think others too, that like we are at this pinnacle point where if you want to draw the line in the sand and say, I'm not integrating AI in any way, shape, or form, you're going to get left behind because it is moving so much quickly. And so the question needs to be not, am I not going to do it, but how can I do it in order to keep my competitive advantage?
I think that's a really good point, Kelly. And I want to switch a little bit. We're going to move on and keep it going here. So I want to go a little bit deeper now. We've delved into the AI clones, the AI, and some of our first impressions. But really, what speakers or even moments in the event shifted things for you? What was your biggest aha moment? And I'm probably putting some of you on the spot there. Natalie, you sound like you're ready.
Yes, this is like the biggest takeaway. And I bet that there's a lot of agreement here because a lot of our background is shared in that coaching, educational, instructional space or support and services. I think that kind of represents all of us here and a lot of your listeners, all of our listeners. But to me, like the rock, like what rocked me the most and excited me and overwhelmed me, and I'll insert lots of adjectives, is the Ryan Deiss's take and transparency on just the state, or the repercussion has a negative connotation, but just the honesty where he's, you know what, 80% of my business was taken away over an 18-month period. And if you happen to be somebody like that, so he identified it, he said it, which I think that I needed to hear. We all have these like feelings of what the market is doing, and we look at our own businesses, but we're all lucky enough to be in partnership and friendships or masterminds with people where we're talking and having these honest conversations. But to see somebody who has been really like I don't know if this may be overstated, but like a legend in this space who's had so much success being really open and honest and just say, hey, this is the note. And I think hearing the number for me, I'm a very fact finder type of person, but hearing him say 80% was pulled away from me in a very short amount of time. But don't worry, guys. Don't worry. We all have to adapt. Like the reality is, if you wouldn't be in this room, I'm literally getting chills thinking about this again, but his words, and of course, I'm paraphrasing them and adapting them to my brain. But hey, if you're in this room, you're in business. And if you're in business, you can't stay in the same place. Okay, I had a choice. This was taken away from me. I couldn't continue to cut labor. I had to do something next. And we all know that the next includes AI. But he talked, and I don't want to steal anyone else's ideas or thoughts, but in theory, he basically said, how can I utilize AI and do what my customer is asking me to do, which is to deliver the same services that I've been teaching for years. And so he just adapted, talking about intellectual property. He still has that intellectual property, but he's leveraging AI to make sure that he can serve at scale. So anyway, I thought that his transparency changed my entire opinion of the culprits, to be honest. And I'm very glad that Matt brought in multiple perspectives. Kelly mentioned earlier, some were like, I could feel it too. Some were like pro AI, some were like mid AI, and some were like, I don't think anyone was really anti AI. They were frustrated by it, which all of us are and can be. And at the same in the same breath, we're like excited by it. I think Matt did a really good job of bringing in perspectives of AI, but I was very glad, as somebody who is not a journalist and is not necessarily singularly there for monetizing a newsletter, albeit mind blown. I really liked having that perspective because it just tied so close to me, very validating. The transparency is always, he gained a lot of followers in that room. I think everyone probably knew who Ryan Dice was, but I would not be surprised. It's just a reminder to me, when you're transparent like that, you build connection so fast. Our mastermind has probably bought his book now, right? And I don't really even read that many books. So anyway, that was the most aha.
I think Ryan.
And I would
go ahead.
go ahead, Jody. Go ahead.
I was just going to say Ryan Dice's was my favorite of all. I've followed him for years, heard him speak at Traffic and Conversion Summit multiple times. He used to have this saying that you need to be the smartest person in the room, and he always was to me. But just that, what do they call it, fireside chat format was great. And the thing that he said that was one of the most validating things that I heard at the entire thing, and also this is the text that I sent to several of my clients. 99.9% of the world is not subscribed to your newsletter. So stop worrying about the people who unsubscribe. They're not your people. And I say that all the time to my clients. Like, okay, so what if 3 people, decided they didn't want to visit your vacation rental or whatever? Oh, you're going to get more that are. So speaking specifically to your people, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that Ryan, I thought everything that he said was great and I actually joined his AI thing afterwards just to see what it was about.
And it's interesting. I promised everybody we didn't plan this. I actually had on my list here that Ryan Dice was my favorite, hands down, my favorite session. I had been following what he had been doing and how he has made that transition. Like he got rid of his certifications that he's been doing and making that transition into AI. Because I feel like it's been a very interesting case study because his business model had been pretty similar to what I had been doing in my Creators MBA, my personal brand. So I loved his authenticity and basically how he basically said we have to adopt, or basically it's adopt or die. I also liked what he said about they had added the scalable business model and they were going more in on that, which is the one-on-one or done with you type services, which I think in the area of AI, a lot of us, that could be an area that we might want to consider pivoting in to combat. People either want the AI stuff or they want it either done for them or done with them. And I do think that is something to consider depending on kind of what niche you're in.
I also really liked Ryan's talk and his transparency, because I think sometimes people who are really big like he is in any space can not always be as transparent as he was, which I really appreciate it. One of the things I took away from a macro overall, I've always told people about marketing, like tactics change, but like we're still selling to humans. So buying psychology doesn't really change. Even with AI coming in and like mixing things up so fast for us, we're still selling to humans. And one of the things I found funny is back in the day when AOL like first came out and it was dial up, and I can still hear the sound in my head. I was in it was like right before high school, but basically I got really big into AOL when I was in high school. And when I was in high school, the big thing was Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC. And I picked NSYNC. And I was like a very early adopter apparently to newsletters because I came up with this whole like e-zine thing that I had. And I totally forgot about this until I was sitting in this room. And I remember thinking, I'm literally sitting around people who are making millions of dollars on newsletters, something that I did back in like 1999. And it just reminded me that at the end of the day, we are still selling to humans. And these things that have been around for decades now are still relevant. It's just how we are integrating these new technologies to the best of our ability so that we don't fall behind in the changing landscape. And that was kind of like my big takeaway. I'm like, like the things that we've always been doing still work. It's just adapting to the technology changes.
All right. So I'm going to take a little bit different twist here. We're going to go maybe a little bit uncomfortable. So what's one thing from the event that either challenged you, made you uncomfortable, or pushed you to think differently? And see.
I'll go. There was a couple things. I think we had primarily done I've had my business for a decade, and we had used paid ads a lot at the beginning. And then Facebook the algorithm changed. There was the issue with Apple, and like it was not the same as what it once was. And it became disheartening and frustrating, especially if you had spent a good ad spend before. But I think listening to a couple of the presentations and having a discussion with you, Destiny, and really having those one-on-one talks pushed my thinking back a little bit on it. And like I dove into my numbers over the last decade and looked at where our growth had happened and how much were we spending on ads and those conversions, because I love data. And I was like, I had to challenge my belief system that ads were bad, because, and as Kate said, like people were spending millions of dollars that were up on stage talking about it. So ads are still need to be part of the ecosystem, no different than organic or anything else, because we just no longer can we just stand on, you can't just do all paid ads and you can't just do all organic, but being able to have that mix. I appreciated having that come from the stage, but then I also appreciated, Destiny, you taking time and talking to me about it too.
Yeah, I think that when we look at our businesses and look at some of these people who are up there and definitely have had success, you really have to go underneath the hood and what is driving that? And a lot of it, not all of it, to your point, but a lot of it was paid advertising and really getting a strategy together and figuring out, okay, how can people find us in this crowded AI world? And what I've learned is having that as part of our strategy is definitely works. And I think if our people are on Facebook and Instagram, I will say, for those of you who are listening, I have definitely seen a difference. And some of you who are actually running paid ads can jump in here over the past 6 to 9 months, where Meta has made it really easy for us small businesses to get really good results. And I think a lot of that does have to do with AI and their algorithms and how they are basically connecting us with our ideal customer fairly cheaply, where we can actually afford it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Andromeda has been like a huge upgrade to the ad system. And yes, as Monica calls it, Armageddon. Yeah, I agree. There were a couple things that made me uncomfortable, and I wonder, is it just resistance, or is it like YouTube was a big focus, I felt like, as well. And I go back and forth of, ooh, should I do YouTube? Maybe that's a thing. And then hearing from people having lots of success on YouTube. But I think I go back to what Monica said, and those are all tactics, right? And like all tactics can work or not work depending on who you are and your budget and your time and capacity and all of that stuff. But the strategy is what doesn't change. Like the strategy is still the same. You need to get found by people. People have to know you exist. And then you have to learn how to sell to those people. And so I think the thing that was my biggest aha and maybe came from this sort of, I have so much resistance to YouTube. That just sounds like so much work and I don't want to do it, was that I think I've been running ads for the last year, doing them myself. I've been in a couple programs that teach ads and have like their mentors will get on Zoom calls with you and look at your ads manager with you. And then to your point, Destiny, like having this done with you seems to be like a big shift too, as that's happening more and more, which I think is in direct response to AI. Anyway, I'm getting a little off track here, but I think ads was the thing that made me uncomfortable and excited because it just felt like this is possible. There's hundreds of thousands of people that have had success with ads. I'm smart. I can figure this out. I don't have to have $1 million budget, but in theory, ads are something where there is a return on the investment. So you're not just spending $10,000. You're in theory making at least some of that back. And one of the ways that I felt like I could make it back that I wasn't thinking of before this conference is, again, thinking of my owned assets and thinking about my newsletter as a product itself. So yes, I sell courses, I sell coaching, I sell custom GPTs and those sorts of things. But I also can be selling my newsletter. And I don't mean by making it a paid newsletter. I did think that was interesting, actually, at the conference, that there really wasn't a lot of talk about making your newsletter behind a paywall and doing something like the Substack paid options. That seems besides the point. It was more about monetizing your own newsletter with ads. And so I've been doing that this past year, but I am just working with like my peers and my clients are buying ad space in my newsletters. And then I was like, why am I not going after brands that have big advertising budgets, not the coach who's just getting started and is, oh, I don't know, $100 is risky for me. I should be going after these brands that are like, yeah, let's put together a $20,000 contract for the year. And now this is another revenue stream that I have in my business. So it makes me a little uncomfortable because I'm very like precious about my newsletter. And also it makes me really excited because it feels like I can get paid more doing exactly what I'm already doing, like without adding any extra work other than finding the brand partners and working with them. I'm already sending a newsletter, sometimes 7 days a week. If I could just sponsor those more, I could make more money doing the same thing.
I couldn't agree more with everything that I think we all just walked away with a lot of insight and a lot of some things different, some things the same. But I agree that I was shocked. I was kind of shocked that there was almost no emphasis on organic lead generation. It was heavy, if not all, on the paid side, which all of us have resistance to it because we have to put $1 out there. We have to hope that we break even. And I think we've all played the ads game, and to piggyback and to not go overboard, we've recently just doubled down on the paid side, which is very new for us. And I'm not spending $1 million because I don't have $1 million. I don't have $10,000 a month, but we've already seen the benefits. So if you listening in are like, oh, I've been resistant to ads, I just want to tell you that Andromeda, like Meta or hate Meta, it doesn't matter. If you want to monetize their platform, and several speakers talked about this, Meta is in the game of making money through ads. So they want to make it easier for us. And they really have. I can tell you, as just like Kate said, as a practitioner, as someone who's doing this, that they've made it easier than ever before. You used to have, I felt like you had to have a stinking degree, a mentor, a mastermind just to run ads. And little old Natalie can do this now. So they are making it easier. But I'm going to shift gears a little bit, Destiny. And one of the things that really challenged me, and this is a little tactical, a lot of this conference was, or the intention of it last year was around, it's specifically around newsletters, which all of us send out an email. And I have never monetized that. I use it as a nurture tool. And so much like Kate said, yes, my eyes were open, my ears were big, listening to and just dreaming into how to monetize it, even if it is $100 a week. Like I've never even really, I've always thought, oh, my list is too small, or my people don't need this, or who would I even collaborate with? I was challenged with that. But getting to the tactical piece, we had several sessions, and one was very, I would say, just very honest and again, very tactical. I happen to be one of those operator people, and I really appreciated it. Was the guy from the health newsletter who broke down how they specifically what their format or template is. And he kept going and he kept going and he kept going. I had a full page of notes, and I'm crazy, guys. I don't want to go to the second page of the notes if I'm not going to complete the next page, right? So I'm like, okay, do I just start writing in the margins? Like he just kept going and going. And so what challenged me, and to get to my point, the length of these newsletters was like, I have been spending so much energy in showing me everything. And I do believe that that different email strategies are needed at different campaign levels, et cetera. But for that nurturing piece, which is what they are using this for, as well as selling, the length of their newsletter was like, oh my goodness. And how they compartmentalize this. Like that didn't necessarily challenge me. That excited me because it's, you can actually build a template around this, and you can have different contributors, and you can you can operationalize this entire product. But I was like, whoa, the length of it, the richness of the content, the intentionality of the content. And this really did, I will say, shake me. And it is a challenging thing. And sometimes I've built, and I'm going to be very honest myself. Sometimes it's, we're against a deadline. We always put out a weekly email, and that email it's not the best work. What everybody shared from the stage was like, is this, I'm going to use the word transformational, which is a little overstated, but is this my best work? Would somebody really open this? And what challenged me was like, if this isn't like my best work, maybe don't put it out this week. Maybe don't do this every single week. But I know I've covered a lot of those challenging moments, but a lot of them came through the tactical newsletter piece, which I'm very happy to walk away with, because now I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna rebirth this newsletter. I'm gonna put some energy into that. And it's all doable for a small business owner.
I loved his session too, the guy with the health newsletter. I'm a writer, and I've always loved writing. I've had blogs, and I've had newsletters and all the different things, but seeing it from, he's a content creator. The newsletter is his product, basically, but I can do that. Natalie said, I have the capability. I am a good writer. I have 10 years worth of content that I can put into a newsletter. And then I actually looked in my space, and there's podcasts in my space are huge, but newsletters, I found 2 or 3, and they're all on LinkedIn. And Destiny teaches her mini magazine format, which is basically what he was talking about. And so I'm going to dig into Destiny's newsletter or Profit Club and get some ideas, because my newsletter is a sales piece. Or we've got the welcome series, we've got the sales funnel. I have a lot to say. So I think people would respond to that if I really tried.
Yeah, Jody, thanks for bringing that up. So what we do teach in the Newsletter Profit Club is that mini magazine format that he covered in that All Healthy newsletter that he's doing. And then really taking it a step further in those different sections, how we do the teach and pitch method to really take that customer on a journey, depending on what we want them to do, what their next action step is. So one of the things I want to say about what kind of pushed me and made me uncomfortable or stuck out, definitely the YouTube. I've had a huge resistance to YouTube and adding that to my marketing repertoire, if you would. I don't know. I'm still like chewing on it. But the other thing that pushed me and came up was the emphasis on SMS text. And I have not been doing that. I've done it here and there in the past, like when somebody signs up for a webinar, do you want to get a text reminding you, that sort of thing. But I'm not consistently capturing that and using it as a marketing tool. And I'm like, they basically said in that conference, like that was a huge lever and actually a little bit even more important than email marketing. So I'm like, should I start going down that path? I know there's a lot of other like legal things to consider there, but that's on my list to explore a little bit more. All right. So we're about to wrap it up. So I want to rapid fire if each person could share one action item that they're taking away and maybe one resource or thing that they're going to be doing from the event that you want the audience to know about. Something super juicy here.
I'll go. I think one of the things that I took out of all of that is that community still really matters. And if you aren't finding a way to connect with your community, either in, may it be a private Facebook group or in a community app, which is what we have, or in real life events, which we do as well, that's the glue that holds things together. I believe it was Ryan Dice that said you only need 100 raving fans to have a business. And the more that you can get them connected with each other, those raving fans, the stronger I think your business is. Your business can withstand anything at that point. So I think just really leaning into community was my takeaway. And then also, like I said before, the diversification of how we get new people into the community, right? So the diversification of adding ads into it, maybe doing more live webinars on a regular basis, those things to just really show up live to be that differentiator between AI, we'll call it AI slop, and a live person.
I can go next. I have several to-do notes on my phone that I'm looking at right now. And along the same lines of your newsletter and ads, one of the things I wrote down is to advertise not just with Meta, but with big newsletters. And like right now, I've been sponsoring some of my peers' newsletters as well. But this idea, I love the way that they said this, and I can't remember who it was, but they said, run ads with people who read their inbox. And it was like, oh, that's so smart. I'm trying to get them to open my emails. I want them to join my email list and open my emails. So why not run ads on email platforms? And so I'm on my to-do list is to research who are some of the biggest newsletters in my space or who have adjacent, actually, that's probably a better fit, is like an adjacent person or newsletter that we serve the same type of person, but differently, and to start advertising with them. Yeah, I'm excited to do that and figure out, I think, who are these newsletters anyway? I don't know that. I haven't been following it from like a paid newsletter perspective. I've been thinking of it from this email marketing perspective. So I think that's going to be a fun shift.
Piggyback on that, because sponsorships are a big thing that I took away as well. And I actually, I guess I did not frame it in the same way. I love how it's like advertising on the same platform to get people, like how you just worded it, because for the last probably 3 years, I've actually split. I used to only do paid ads with, back in the day, it was Pinterest and Meta. And then I started splitting my ad budget and staying with Meta on the B2B side, but sponsoring events in the industry, whether it was bundles or summits. And then I really did feel like there was a rise in the last 6 to 9 months of sponsorship offers peer-to-peer on email. And I've been doing that. I've sponsored one of yours, Kate. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if anyone else in the room, because I don't know if you offer it. Destiny, you should offer it because I would sponsor yours too. Just throwing that out there. And I've been offering sponsorships, and I'm trying to, I think it was our friend Steph that really kicked my butt because she came out with a whole system about it. And mine's not as automated as hers, but I'm just looking at my P&L the other day, and it is one of my top line items of people sponsoring my newsletter. And that was a revenue stream that wasn't there. So I feel like I really got a kick in the butt, as you did, Kate, to start looking bigger into like brands now, thinking outside. And that is probably the biggest benefit of being in a room like that, is you're hearing from just a lot of different experiences and not in the same bubble and the same industry. And so you can really think outside the box and be like, oh, if it works for them, it could work in our industry too. So I'm excited. We should do some research together.
Yes. And I just want to add one more quick thing to that point is, again, I think Kelly said this, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but all of this stuff we could have learned by asking Claude or ChatGPT, what are some ways I could diversify my revenue streams? But it doesn't hit the same as having a bot tell you, you could add brand sponsorships to your emails. I would have been like, okay, yeah, maybe, whatever, moving on. As being in this room with real humans who are doing it and having massive success and telling us, here's the pitfalls, here's what worked, here's what didn't, here's where to look. It was just such a different experience. So somebody at the conference had a hat that said IRL is greater than URL. And I was like, oh, that's so good. And it is just so true. So just adding that.
To pull all of that together, the reality was we were hearing these people on the stage, and yes, we could get maybe Chad or Claude would give us some of these ideas. And just like you, Kate, I would prove half of these things because I would not understand the magnitude. I would not understand how to integrate them. I would not understand. There's a lot of questions, and because of the amount of questions, I would probably I'm going to steer away from that when it could really be a viable thing. Hearing it from the stage is one thing, but collaborating with all of you over lunch, dinner, happy hour, whatever it was in between sessions in the hallway, y'all humanized it for me. I had a huge aha sitting next to Destiny at lunch one day and across from Monica, where I was like, oh, and to answer your question that you've asked, Destiny, what am I doing now that I'm walking? What are the actual tangibles? It's AI-ifying. I mean, I don't know if that's a real word at this point, but it's like, I have to, I've been like, do I have to? But what that clarity, that word that I mentioned at the top of the podcast was I have to, and I'm now excited to AI-ify all of the IP that I have. And so we're going to work on it. It's not going to be done overnight. It's certainly not as fast as I wanted it to be, but I am inspired by you all. And if I just would have heard that on the stage, I don't care if it's Ryan Dice or I don't care who it is. I would be like, yeah, bro can do it because he has got a 10-figure business. Mama over here is looking like we're happy with the 6-figure. But the other thing that I wanted to share, and I don't know, we didn't talk about this, but something that we're going to do, I saw it in 2 of the speakers. They had a QR code where we could basically subscribe and get on their list, which has been fascinating. And all of us love to experience and get a peek into how these people run their businesses. But something that was really cool that I'm going to do, and I hope that those that are listening would consider it, is we all want data on the people who are joining our list. And they were models for you subscribed. And right afterwards, it's optional, but they gave you the option to answer like a 3 or 4 part survey, question survey. And with that, they understood, so they got lots of information from me that I personally right now either wait till someone is a buyer in my program or send out an annual survey. Like, it was so easy. And one of them said that they get 60% of the people that subscribe answer those. That's rich data that allows me to segment, that allows me to talk to people, that allows me just to understand my avatar. So that was something that really excited me. And I always made it like this big thing, like no one's going to do it. And the whole, if you've been in this game, like all of us have for the last 10 years, like the whole downfall of the double opt-in. Oh, they're going to be resistant to doing all of this. 60% of people are doing it. I think consumers and subscribers are just open. They know when we're asking that they're going to hopefully get a benefit of us knowing them better. So that was it.
And to piggyback on that, Natalie, that's when I think Matt McGarry was one of the ones that kind of walked us through that. That's when he's asking for that SMS. So he was like, yes, that's when people are actually giving him that, which I thought was interesting and something I'm definitely going to check into. Any last minute thoughts? Anybody else want to jump in here, Jody?
Oh, I was just going to say that the ads were the thing that I'm really most excited about. I used to, when I was working with the digital marketing agency years ago, I did ads every day with people with $10,000 budgets. And yeah, it was exciting, but it was hard. And everything was based on finding the perfect audience and segmenting your audience and testing all the different audiences. And now, based on a couple of the different talks, especially the lady, I always forget names, but the lady that was on the last day that talked through ads, it's really about the content differentiation, knowing your avatars, speaking directly to them, and then letting Meta find your audience for you. That was really helpful for me to think about because I'm really into one of the big things I teach is ICA, finding your perfect guest is what I call them, and really targeting them with your content. And so for me, that was eye-opening, not only for me, something that I can do, but something I can take to my clients and say, hey, let's try ads now. They ask me all the time and I'm like, nope, we're gonna have to find an ads team because I'm not going through that again. But now I'm actually spoke to a client. Hey, let's try some ads and see it. I'm just experimenting, but let's try it. So that was my biggest, I'm doing this week thing.
All right. I think we're done. I want to thank everybody for joining us today and sharing your thoughts around the New Media Summit. And I will put everybody's link and your free gift in our show notes here. And thanks so much.
Thank you, Destiny. Thank you.
Thanks for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed this episode today. If you loved the show, I'd appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Have a great rest of your day and bye for now.